Good morning, Husker fans, and welcome back to the Husker Big Red YouTube channel. I'm Chris Peterson, and joining me, as always, is Danny Gillette. And we're back for one of our Husker Big Red chats on Saturday morning. And it's been an exciting few days for the Nebraska Cornhuskers, to say the least. I don't know if any of you guys stayed up late to watch the game last night. I'm sure many of you did. So I'll forgive you if you're a little late or if you're not quite, up and at 'em this morning. But a big win for the Nebraska Cornhuskers last night, playing for a shot at the Big Ten Championship today. So we're going to get it started with the chat. Before we get into things today, make sure that you guys, if you haven't already, hit the like and subscribe button so you don't miss any of our future content here at the Husker Big Red YouTube channel. And Danny, how you doing this morning, man, after a late night last night?
Very tired, but it's well worth it. I couldn't fall asleep last night, and the Mountain Dew certainly didn't help either. So I'm a little sleepy, but it's a good sleepy, and I'm excited that Nebraska basketball itself is exciting again. So, I mean, I can't complain. It's always fun. March is always fun, and it's always better when your team is in it. So, I was very impressed with what I saw on the hardwood last night.
Yeah, I was too. It was I thought that maybe they would have a little bit of rust, after, not playing at all this week. Indiana had already had a game in that tournament, and getting the double bye. Nebraska only really played one game in the last 12 days because they had that whole week off, between the Rutgers game and the Michigan game. So I was a little bit worried, and I guess that maybe they did, start a little sluggish. I mean, Indiana did have a 15-13 lead, but man, then Casey woke up and it was like, just a blitzkrieg. And the shots that he was hitting like that, I mean, and it wasn't just him. I mean, they made 11, 3-pointers in the first half. Bryce Williams made 4, but Casey really set the tone. Like when he's hitting shots like that, and this team with the way that they defend and rebound and just play together, like they're very difficult to beat.
It looked like it wasn't a week off for Casey. He was just back to his old tricks. A cool 23 points after a 30-point game against Michigan last Sunday. He was just, the basket looked like an ocean to him, and he's just absolutely remarkable. He's one of the best players in Nebraska basketball history, and he really is exciting to watch. And I don't know if you caught the guys in the bottom corner of the
I did.
of the TV screen, but
Yeah.
they were enjoying it too, and it was great to see. And I'm excited that not only Casey, but this whole team will get their dues on the national stage, because when they are hitting on all cylinders, they are extremely difficult to stop. And Bryce Williams, over these last 2 months or so, he's really picked up his play. Not that he was playing bad before, but he has been playing at a really, really high level, and he showed it again. And man, this team was just, they looked unstoppable last night.
They did. So we got our first chat here. So we got to try to keep it about 30 minutes a day. So just to let you guys know, who knows if we'll actually stick to that. But Mitch, thanks for commenting again, Mitch. I love that you're always here, man, no matter what.
Absolutely.
Super appreciate that. To everybody who gets into the comments. And we love your questions and interactions too. So, we have topics here, but we want you guys to drive the conversation. So if you have questions or things you want to say, please get into the chat and join us. That's why we do these live streams. But so retired jersey, yes or no? I'm assuming he means Keisei Tominaga. What do you think about that, Danny?
Yes, I mean, Casey's been one of the best players in Nebraska basketball history. He's brought life back to the program. He's brought excitement back to the program, and yes, I would.
Number 30, yeah, it would be hard to say. I mean, he's only been here for 3 years, but and he didn't really do much this first season. 5.7 points, but averaged 13 last year. Went on an incredible run, and 14 points a game. I would say it's going to depend, what he does over the next week or so. I mean, if they can add to this run, if they can win a game in the NCAA tournament, I mean, I think that definitely will cement his legacy. And I believe if Nebraska is going to have success in the tournament, Tominaga is going to be a huge part of that. And so, yeah, if they win a game in the NCAA tournament, I think that they would cement themselves as the best team in Nebraska basketball history. And I think the best player on the best team probably does deserve to have his jersey retired.
And for what it's worth, Fred Hoiberg said he liked it here and wants to stay amidst all the turmoil in the athletic department. So, I mean, it can only go up from here, I'm assuming.
Yeah, and good on Amy Just for answering that question, or asking that question, excuse me. I guess some Nebraska fans gave her a hard time, but like that's her job. You have to ask that question. I would ask Fred that if I was there. I mean, I'm surprised that it didn't get asked, beforehand. He did a podcast with Sipple and I think Robin Washut, and I listened to some of it, and it was like they said it was yesterday morning, but I don't think that they asked him about Trev. So I was like, did you guys pre-record this, or you just,
Yeah, because they're lapdogs. They
you
won't
know?
ask the tough questions. I mean, they really won't ask the tough questions. I
I
mean,
mean,
they're
Sipple usually will, but I didn't, and I didn't listen to the whole podcast, so I can't say for sure. But but yeah, I agree with you though. There a lot of times reporters won't, so I do give her credit for that, and yeah, I loved exactly what Fred said. I love it here. I want to be here, and this is a great place. There's no reason why we can't. There's no
okay.
reason why
That's
we.
why. Okay.
Okay, came out. That's what I kind of thought. I was like, oh, did they? But they said it was like the way that the way that it makes it seem. Maybe that's just broadcasted on their page.
All
Like
the
it was
best
that day.
news always comes out after filming.
It does, yeah. But at any rate, man, like I just think that Fred's right about the fact that Nebraska is an attractive place, and there's a lot of things going on with Trev, but I think there's a lot more reasons for him leaving than we know about, and that's some of that stuff has started to leak out a little bit. But I still think Nebraska's in a good spot. I like Dennis LeBlanc. I think he's a great hire for right now, and hell, I don't I think that they'll find the right people. But as long as Matt Rule and Fred Hoiberg and John Cook and Amy Williams are invested, and they're here for the long haul, then the rest will get figured out, in my opinion.
I really like Ed Stewart. I've been reading up on him more over the
Yeah,
past couple of days, and I really like what he can bring to the table. And I know
yeah,
I'm
I'd
very
support
hesitant
that.
about hiring another Nebraska guy, but it seems like he's a lot more than just a Nebraska guy.
Yeah, I mean, and it's like the times they have hired outside people hasn't really worked out that well either. So I don't know. It's
Although, let's see, Mickey Joseph, Scott Frost, Trev Alberts, the
when I
times that
mean
we
like
hired
Bill
inside
Moose,
people
like Bill Moose.
hasn't
I
worked out
mean,
well either. So I don't know. Maybe it's just the university itself.
no, I mean, I think I thought Tom Osborne did a pretty good job when he was running things. I mean, I only did it for a few years, but he did get Bo Pelini back. You know, and like I just would say like Steve Peterson and Bill. We just can't have another Steve Peterson or a Bill Moose, or to totally try to like change things and you know just make stupid decisions. So but yeah, because like I mean, Steve Peter like firing Frank Solich, and it was interesting he got inducted to the MAC Hall of Fame yesterday, and that's been a whole conversation. But at any rate, we'll move on from that. Moonbot7, thanks for the comment on YouTube. Definitely retire as an international. Will be good for what he did. More Japanese will
That's true.
follow,
Yeah.
which is only good for us. Yeah, and he's going to be an Olympic player. And here's the thing about K-State, man. He's going to play professional basketball, whether it's in the NBA. I think he would have to probably start in the G League, but I don't think that path is over for him because one thing is he really has started to impress me the second half of the season with his defense. I mean, once Fred Hoiberg made that change and made him the starter and kind of not really made him the point guard, but put him in that position where he has to defend point guards a lot and defend those perimeter players a lot. I was worried about that, and he really has stepped up his game. So that I want to give him a shout out for that because it's not just been scoring with K-State, and he did a great job assisting last night. He's really improved his overall game. So I think that whether he plays in Japan as like the star of their league or finds a way into the NBA, like he's going to have a pro career. And like I said, I definitely support retiring the number.
I totally forgot what I was going to say. So it'll come back to me. And yeah.
Moonbot. Yeah, we could definitely use some Japanese influx on the baseball team.
I know.
I'm not sure how that really. I think they keep their good. I don't know how their system works, to be honest, with their sports. But
I don't know either. But I mean, is it a waiver? Because I know Casey transferred in from Ranger College. So
well, I guess I'm just meaning like I don't know if they have free. Like if you're a really good youth player in Japan, like do you have to go to? I don't think you have to. Like in China, they make you go to like their academies or whatever. I don't know. I'm probably making myself sound like an idiot right now, but I guess I'm just not sure. Like if you can just come to the United States anytime you want to, if you're like a young player, if you have to, if there's some type of immigration process that has to take place. Like I have no idea how that works, but
I do
but
know
I
that
think it's
there's a
great
lot
to
of
grow the.
programs that, these Japanese baseball players, they already come like well seasoned in terms of playing in the country's pro leagues and stuff like that.
Question: how do we dissolve the board of regents? Other programs don't have them. They are a detriment to our success. I mean, I'm not sure. That's more of a university thing, I think. So, I mean, I know it. I know at Michigan, as a Michigan fan, that definitely is an issue that they're dealing with constantly in the board of regents, trying to. It's been a big hold up with like NIL and like contract talks with Jim Harbaugh, and when all that stuff was going on with Signgate, there was trying to figure out which regions were going to support different actions. So I do think it is pretty prevalent across college sports. I don't know that it's as big an issue at other places like it is at Nebraska, but so on that one, I don't really know. I guess you would have to. I think the state legislature, frankly, would have to restructure things and pass some different legislation. So good luck getting that to happen. I don't know much about Nebraska politics, but I don't see
Although
that
Pillen
happening
put out a
anytime.
statement that says they need to act quickly and act immediately. Like, hello, how much more
Yeah.
tone deaf can you be? You're part of the problem, you jackass.
So as far as I didn't expect the beatdown last night. I didn't either. Nebraska was a 5-point favorite, and Indiana won 5 games in a row. And I thought that Nebraska would win, but in my prediction, I said that they would win by single digits because I really thought it was going to be a grinded out. And then when Casey hit that second three, it was done. I knew it was over. I knew Indiana wasn't getting off the mat. I was still pleased with the way the guys came out, but like that was a beatdown, and I still would like to see us trend up in the seed range. I don't know why Nebraska's a number 8. Like if I was we're projected as an 8 seed to play Dayton, and Houston's on our side of the bracket. If I was Houston, I would be freaking pissed if I had to potentially see a team like Nebraska in the second round. Like go look at the KenPom, man. We're right where we have the number 37th ranked offense and the number 26th ranked defense. So Nebraska is like literally one spot away from having the metrics required to win a national championship. Not saying that they will by any means, but I'm just saying that's not the type of team you want to see in the second round of the tournament.
I just loved Mike Woodson getting ejected down by 26 with 5 minutes left in the second half. Like, the night couldn't go any worse for him, and now he's getting ejected from the game. That was hilarious.
Maybe he just was hangry, and he was like, I'm going to get tossed, and then I can at least get my pregame snack going before the press conference. I
He
don't
didn't
know.
even want to watch the beatdown last night.
No, well, man, after there was a point where Nebraska, it was like a layup drill, man. They literally ran the same play like 4 times in a row, and either a guy just drove straight to the basket or there was like a curl cut and a hoop. And I mean, like that's like if you're giving up layups off curl screens, that's middle school stuff, man. Like that's bad.
And I'm glad the camera guy was okay that Sam Hoiberg accidentally ran into. That looked like a nasty fall. So I'm glad he's all right. I think they put the camera crew, I don't know, a little too close to the action because that was the second time that happened that day. So
yeah, I mean that's I know with my newspaper work, I mean I know a lot of photogs, as they call themselves, and that's where they want to be, man. They want to be as close to the action as they can because that's how you get the best photos. So, but
yeah.
they do get hit a lot, though. I mean, I've blocked a few. I've protected my guy a couple times. I've also dived out of the way, knowing there's nothing I can do. I'm usually not that for basketball. I'm on the press box, but football I'm on the sideline. So I've almost got trucked a few times. Like it's close, but at any rate, I'm glad he is okay. And those guys do incredible work. And sports photos, sports photography. That's something that I truly love to. How it kind of captures the moment. There's nothing like sports photography. I'll just say that.
Also, I believe it was Minneapolis that was the host, that has been the host, and it's been a great hosting experience so far. You've seen a lot of the fan bases come. Nebraska had a large contingent last night, and it was very impressive to see so many fans travel.
Yeah, the Target Center where Fred Hoiberg did play a lot of his. He played in the NBA at the for the T-Wolves, and yeah, I do like it there. I think it's a central location. I'd like to see him. I'd like to see him move that thing to Las Vegas because it's closer to me. So it would just make it easier for me. Then I can go to Vegas and the Big Ten tournament all in one time. So I think it's going to happen. I think Vegas or LA. It's going to happen.
I was going to
eventually.
say there's no teams in the Big Ten anywhere near Vegas, but now we have USC, UCLA, Oregon, and Washington.
Central location, baby.
I know it is. Now it is. Yeah.
Huh. I mean, it could be in Seattle. It could be in Portland. I mean, it could be literally, it could be anywhere. I mean, it's been in Washington, D.C., so like it's it's kind of interesting how it's all worked out. But yeah, you could have the Big Ten tournament just about anywhere nowadays. But yeah, the first half definitely deflated Indiana. And this is a team that was literally fighting for their NCAA tournament lives with 19 wins. I mean, it's not like they're a bad team. They're like a top 100 team in the NET rankings. So for Nebraska just to totally blow them out for a third time, I think that shows what a quality team this is.
Yeah. And I think it also shows that they were prepared. I mean, one of my biggest concerns coming into Friday night's game was the fact that they were facing Indiana for a third time. Would this be a game where Indiana, you played Nebraska 2 times now, will you be able to catch on to their tendencies, and will you be able to stop them from behind the arc? Will you be able to stop Tominaga? Will you be able to win the paint battles? And the answer was a resounding no.
Yeah, it was. I mean, amazingly, it was like the same formula as the other two games. I mean, Nebraska did have 11 turnovers last night, where they only had 15 in the two previous games. So, but they also took their starters out a little earlier as well. But I mean, 14 to 32. If Nebraska shoots 14 to 32, they're going to beat. There's no team in the country that can probably.
They're going to be the NCAA champions.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, it's just if Nebraska makes 14 threes, like maybe Purdue can beat them. Like that's. Because Purdue's come pretty close, like with that. But I mean, this is the way that they're defending. I just don't think people realize how good this team is defensively, and they have finally. It did take them a little while. I mean, their rotations and everything, but that kind of thing does take time. It's not like you add a bunch of transfers and you're going to be, like that. Working together, I guess, as a fist. I'm trying to come up with an analogy, but they really are working together as one, and it took some time. But man, Josiah Alec, like he is such a good freaking defensive player. Like his defense around the rim and being able to defend the rim without fouling, like he does that as well as anybody in the Big Ten. Rick Mass has been spectacular. Juwan Garrett, I mean, all these guys, but they do it like Fred said together, and it's just really fun to watch. And I'm just impressed that their defense is traveling the way that it is, because if they do that and then they keep playing defense like that, they're gonna win games in the NCAA tournament. Like I firmly believe that, and I believe that they can win this Big Ten championship.
They also got Indiana into foul trouble early. I mean, one of the things that the broadcast was talking about was Indiana's Malik Renew. He fouled out like 6 times in the regular season this year. I think he had 4 fouls last night, so they knew where to attack and when to attack, and it worked.
Yeah, and that's another thing too that Nebraska has been pretty successful at, that people don't really think about. But if you keep your personal fouls in the single digits and your turnovers in single digits, and you shoot 35% from 3, you're going to win like 90% of your games. I don't care who you are. I mean, and that was when John Beilein was at Michigan, they did that all the time. You look at halftime and they'd have 1 turnover, 3 fouls, and 7 threes. You know what I mean? So it's like you're not, because I mean, the more you foul, the more you're giving the other team free points. Turnovers are free points to the other team. And if you don't do those things, it's just like football. If you don't have false start penalties and you don't give the ball away, you're going to have a lot better chance of being successful on offense. And so just doing those simple things, and that's what I love about Fred Hoiberg, is because he's just a basketball coach, sort of like John Beilein. I mean, he's like, you give me a player, and I know he didn't play this year, but the guy from Iowa, I'm blanking on his name, who got suspended for suspension. Yeah. Ulis. He wasn't that great of a scorer at Iowa with his shot or whatever. And I remember when he transferred and Fred was talking about, like how they could fix his shot. Like I almost guarantee you that guy would have been a much better shooter under Fred Hoiberg. Like Fred Hoiberg knows how to improve basketball skills. And you're talking about, the fundamental things that, like, why Michigan was so damn bad this year. Like they couldn't pass the ball to each other. They couldn't set a screen. I mean, it's the simple things that, maybe some of these college coaches don't practice or whatever, but that's what makes it so you can go through a game without turning the ball over. I mean, how many bad passes did Indiana have last night? Nebraska, yeah, they had a couple, but those fundamental skills have been developed under Fred Hoiberg, and that's because he's just a basketball coach, and he's exactly the right guy for this team, and I think he's going to be here for the long haul.
I do too. I think there's a plan in place, and I think any reasonable athletic director would recognize that and would take that into consideration. And honestly, same with the football program. If Matt Rule is no longer the football coach, it's not going to be because an athletic director fired him or, let him go. It's because Matt Rule wants to leave on his own accord. So I think if there was a case for these guys to stay, if they wanted to stay at Nebraska, they are making strong cases right now at a really, really good time.
And yeah, and Co, I'm assuming you say Houston, like that Nebraska's playing defense kind of like Houston does. I mean, that's what I'm assuming you mean by that comment. But
I think this chat is delayed for when the people view it as opposed to when we're recording. So,
but at any rate, I do think you're making a lot of good comparisons, though. That's what Houston does and has done so well, and I think that's what Nebraska is doing really well right now. But yeah, and one point I did want to make about Matt Rule and like when everybody is talking about the Sean Callahans and all those people of the world of the love fest between Matt Rule and Ted Carter and Trev Alberts, and Matt Rule came here because of those guys and blah blah blah. Like I get that, and I do think that some of that is true. But when you go through the interview process like that, like I was telling you, Danny, if I was given a press conference, before okay, I sorry, Co. He said Houston could beat us if we made 14 threes. Okay. Point clarified.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree with that, yeah.
But back to my point is like of course you're going to be saying complimentary things and nice things about the people that just gave you a $10 million a year contract, that just gave you your dream job, that just hired you for, one of the best coaching jobs in college football. I get Nebraska's struggled, but the pay and it's still a top 20 job. You know what I mean? Like there's not many jobs that you would take over the Nebraska job. Just, you know what I mean? Just a straight up comparison. So like, I get what he said. And I do think he meant it. I don't think that Matt Rule was, bullshitting, or anything like that. But I mean, is it to the point where he's going to look at it like, oh, I can't coach here without Ted Carter and, Trev Alberts around? No, I mean, I don't think that at all. I think that, he has his own motivations. And I think, his tweet and, his response, I do think spoke volumes. And I do think, there was a little bit of a shot at Trev Alberts in that, not necessarily, directly, but saying like, a farmer doesn't quit, when things get tough. And that's what Trev Alberts did. Although I also think he's running away from some things too.
He's running away from a lot. I think he's running away from a lot more than we realize.
Well, Trev Alberts cares about one thing. Trev Alberts. He wants to be SEC commissioner. He wants to be in charge of this new college football. He probably is looking farther ahead to saying, oh, when the Big Ten and SEC break off, they're going to have their own thing, and I can be the Roger Goodell of this. I 100% guarantee you that's what Trev Alberts' mind is at.
Hopefully, he remembers to show up to work.
And if he thinks, there's something that's going to slow him down or make him look bad, like this lawsuit or the stadium maybe not getting done because he's trying to rush through the funding, even though it's not there, I have no issue with him leaving because he wants to put, say, I did this. Look at this stadium that I built. I did that. And then he wants to put things, he doesn't give a crap about Nebraska. He cares about putting things on his resume so that he can improve himself. And that's why I'm really mad at him. And that's why he did stab Nebraska in the back. And nothing that he will ever say, nothing that went on with the Board of Regents, the governor, any of that political infighting will ever justify him stabbing Nebraska in the back.
Well, I think he is running away from stuff. And I do think the Board of Regents is a problem. And I'm not saying that you're saying it wasn't. I'm just, there's a lot of compounding factors. Yeah. But, at the same time, I think he wanted certain things done, and the Board of Regents didn't want to necessarily give him the green light to do it. And, I think maybe they were right in not doing that now that we're seeing and hearing a lot of reports come out. So, I don't know. I mean, I really hope that, Nebraska can just find a competent athletic director to lead us, into the future. And Ed Stewart, I think I might have said it already on here, but Ed Stewart would be my pick. And, I think the only guy that I would say absolutely no to is Matt Davidson.
Yeah. Please not Matt Davidson. No. Come on. No. Excuse me. Yeah, I'd be all for Ed Stewart. Yeah, I think he would be a great hire. I think there's a few, really strong candidates. Hopefully, there's been rumblings about them actually getting a president. So hopefully they can get that taken care of.
Yeah.
And and then we can get the AD and everything can kind of move forward. But I do think, from a Matt Rule perspective, like if you think about it like this way, if there's one person, and I don't mean this to put down the other coaches by any stretch of the imagination, but Nebraska is a football school. And if there's one person in the athletic department, probably in the entire state of Nebraska, who's a Nebraska public employee that this state doesn't want to lose, is Matt Rule. And so I think that he, has to maybe be thinking like, man, I got a lot of influence and power that I can wield here, not only in the AD, but with a lot of other things. So I don't think that's necessarily, going to make him want to run out the door. I think he's in a pretty good spot to be in. He's like the number one dude now of Nebraska Cornhuskers athletics.
The wide receiver,
and that's after a 5-7 season. I mean,
absolutely, I agree. He brings so much energy to the table, and it's noticeable. And as far as Mitch is asking, the wide receiver room was something that I was excited about. I was writing a piece last night about potential breakout offensive players, and two of them came from the wide receiver room. I think when you look at the depth at the position, Isaiah Nair, you have Jamal Banks, the veterans, then you have Jalen Lloyd, who burst onto the scene last year. You have, he's not playing in the spring, but Malachi Coleman, can he have a good season? And can he use this, time to just develop and learn? And so I think the wide receiver room is something I'm really excited about. And the running back room in terms of, can Dante Dowdell really cement himself as a top running back with Irvin and Johnson out? Can Quentin Ives make a push in the running back room as well over the course of this spring? Because like you said before, Chris, the best thing to guarantee that you play is availability. And Johnson and Irvin are great, but they're often hurt, unfortunately. And I think this could open up the door for somebody like Ives to really make a leap in his second year. And I love the way Ives plays, for example. I think he's built and runs like a Big Ten running back. So I'm curious to see what Dowdell and Ives in particular do this spring.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested to see Dante Dowdell, who I think is just a different kind of back than Nebraska's had. Maybe Gabe Urban you could put in that mix when he's healthy, but I just think he really is a step above of what Nebraska's been able to get and recruit. I mean, AJ Allen I probably would put in that mix if he had stayed, but I really do think that he's going to emerge. And I would say, I'm excited about the offensive line. I know maybe a lot of people aren't really talking about that, but, Gunnar Gatula is a guy I'm really excited about watching. And, if I'm talking about guys that are going to take like a sophomore leap, I think he's one of them. I'm not saying he's going to start, but I think he could be Nebraska's swing tackle this year. I also am really excited about just all three levels of the defense. I think this defense is going to be even better than last year. The defensive, I mean, man, you think about, nice, Mitch. We're on the same page with Gunnar Gatula there. I liked him last year. I really did like Gunnar Gatula last year. And then, I'll get to Ko's question here. But yeah, I'm really excited about the defense, all three levels. What do you think the chances are that Emmett transfers? So
very high.
Very high. I don't know. We'll see. I'll give it 50-50 because I don't think you see as many guys transfer in the spring as you do during the winter. So I really think he'd really have to be dissatisfied, with his role, and maybe he will be, but I feel like he's going to get, if he's here, I feel like he's going to get, similar, not as many opportunities as it did last year, because I don't think he's going to start. But even if Dowdell's the starter, like Emmett Johnson's still going to get touches. So I don't see anywhere that he's going to transfer where he's going to be the starter instantly. So I mean, unless he wants to go to a group of five, or unless he wants to go to the FCS, like I just don't know where he's going to go and be the starting running back.
And again, I love Gabe Irvin and I love Ramir Johnson. I don't hold any ill will against them whatsoever, but due to their injuries, they're difficult to depend on. So there will be snaps there, I think, as the number two back. And I don't think Johnson, for example, Emmett Johnson would get buried down the depth chart if he stayed. But I could also see after his role last season, him wanting to be the top running back and him not being satisfied with it.
Yeah, he's from the state of Minnesota. I mean, it's possible, like, he could go back there. I mean, I do think he's proven, hey, I can play fairly well at the Big Ten level. So, yeah, I mean, I agree, too, with Mitch a little bit. Then, Ramir and Gabe being out, he's going to get more opportunities in the spring. So, I'm just not sure. I don't know if he's going to be the number one, though. I think it's, they'll probably do that thing that they do, like they did last year at the running back position, which is fine. I don't care. You need to have You know, you need to have more guys. Yeah, they are. But I don't know. That was just a name off the top of my head. Maybe somewhere else that he could go, but again, I don't think he's going to go anywhere and take over as like RB1 right away. At least not in the Power Five. I mean, he's a good back. Don't get me wrong, and I thought that they should have gave him more carries last year at the end of the season, but he also, like against Iowa, he didn't really produce. So it's going to be a battle, but I don't want to see him transfer though. I will be bummed out if he does because I do think is an ascending player.
I'm curious more where Vermeer and Gabe end up on the depth chart because, like I said just a couple minutes ago, I could see Ives really making a strong push, and I think if you have a backfield of Dowdell, Johnson, and Ives, where does that leave Irvin and Vermeer? I mean,
well, I think for one thing, I think Irvin and Dowdell, I think are going to be the two like hammers. They're going to be the two power backs, and you're going to need two to get through the Big Ten season. I just believe
we saw that last season. We saw that in September. I mean,
yeah, we've seen that with every team. I mean, it's just you need multiple backs. So that's my part on him. And then Ramir, the thing about Ramir is, to me, I'm not even looking at him so much as a running back. I look at him as a kick returner and like a third down back, but his impact on special teams is really where I think, that's the number one reason he's still on the team. Yes, I think he can be, a running back. I think his pass protection is actually pretty solid. He's a solid, receiver out of the backfield.
Yeah, he is.
But yeah, if Quentin, and that's the thing with young backs, what do they usually struggle with? Pass protection. So, is Quentin Ives going to be ready to step up and, take on blitzers to keep Dylan Raiola healthy? Maybe he is. If he can, then yeah, he's probably going to have a chance to play. Can Dante Dowdell do that? Is Emmett Johnson really good at that? Because that's going to be a bigger, pass protection running back is going to be a lot bigger, a much bigger need than it was last season. Because how much were we really, jumping out there in the shotgun and throwing the ball down the field?
I feel bad for Ramir. He's gotten so screwed by the previous Nebraska coaching regime, and he's just had injuries and things like that. He's had a rough Nebraska career, and it's not due to his own making. I remember, and you remember Mark Whipple talking him up 2 years ago as somebody who could really be an impact player, and then we heard nothing from Whipple, and they put him out once against Illinois, and he dropped a pass, and that was pretty much it. So he's had a rough career. I really do feel bad for Ramir. I'm hoping maybe he could find some role this year, but we'll see.
Yeah, it depends if he stays healthy. But I did think that he gave the team a boost, in the return game. How much have the coaches talked about Ives since last spring? I'm not really sure
didn't
about
really
that.
Need to because they had Grant and I'm blanking on the other running back real quick.
Yeah, well, it's just I don't think. I mean, he redshirted last year, so there's not really. And the thing about too, you have to realize is like coaches talk about who they're asked about, and so they're asked about that game, the next week's game, and so I mean, it could just be a situation where they're not really asked about a fifth string running back who's not going to see the field. So yeah. I wouldn't read too much into that, but I would, if he's not, getting talked about this spring, then I would be concerned about that.
I'd almost be more worried about who the coaches do talk about in some cases than who they don't.
Is there another kicker? There is another kicker on the roster. I'm blanking on his name. I believe he's a walk-on though. Isn't that Nico?
Oh, Nico from Jersey. Nico Ottoman?
Yeah.
Yep.
Just scrolling through now to make sure, but Alvano, Buschini, excuse me, gosh. Buschini's obviously back as the punter. Jacob Hole is listed on the roster as a punter. Camden Cook, obviously, so he's going to be kind of groomed this year. Yeah, Nico Ottomanelli. And then they also have Spencer Packratz listed as another kicker. I'm sorry, guys, if I'm butchering your names, if you ever listen to this or if somebody listens to this. But
I do know the Nico's mom, and they all follow my page here on Facebook. So we're sorry. That's why we're writers and not full-time content creators.
Well, that's why I always say I don't do radio because that's why I became a print journalist. So I just have
People
to.
People told me I had a face for radio, so we'll see.
I don't have a voice for radio. I know that. But at any rate,
But I mean, I'd rather Alvano, for example. I know he struggled last season, but I'd rather have him go through his lumps and have us stick with him and develop than to just kind of pull him off the field immediately, so to speak. And
yeah,
kind of,
and he made that big kick against Iowa that I remember. I mean,
and that kick against Wisconsin that sent us into overtime, I believe.
Elvana. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm not saying he was didn't necessarily meet expectations. I just think I think Matt Rule just got into his head a little bit too during that, like during that Wisconsin game. I think for the reaction to like the way the Maryland game ended, and not even just the fans, but I just think having that in his mind of like all I needed was a field goal, and my defense would have won me that game, and I didn't give him that opportunity because I called a play that could have been turned into a pass play by Cheva Purdy. So I think he just got into his head too much, and didn't want to repeat the same mistake. And I just think at the end of the day, after that, which I don't know why he would have trusted them before, but I really think after that Maryland game, I really think he lost all faith in his quarterbacks, and so I think that led to some of the head scratching play calling more than anything.
Hey, at least he lost faith in the quarterbacks after the Maryland game. I lost faith in the quarterbacks after Colorado. So good on that Rule.
Yeah, totally. I think Albano's.
Yeah,
I'm not worried about like if there's things I'm worried about on this team, that's way down at the bottom of the list. I mean, you do want to have a good kicker, but I've always said this. If it gets to a point where we have a kick to win the game, I think Tristan's going to make it. So
you never want to go into the transfer portal for a kicker, and we've done that before.
Yeah, and I think we're in a good spot. Yeah, I think we're in a good spot with our specialists. I like that we've got, two guys that did it last year, can do it again this year, basically returning. Bushini, when he's healthy, can punt the ball really well, and he's going to be very motivated to have a bounce back year to try to get himself, into the NFL. So I think he's going to have a good year. And then I like that we've got, Nico and then Camden Cook to kind of develop for this season and then hopefully just take over in 2025. So I like the plan that they've got in place with Ed Foley, who I think's done a nice job as special teams coach.
The Cook bloodlines are very strong, so I'm confident that Camden will be able to make an impact when it's his time. And Sam Cook was a great punter. He really was. And,
he really was a great punter. Yeah, it's for the Ravens too. I mean, not just for Nebraska, but for the Ravens too.
Yeah,
and it's just
long career.
Yeah. Tommy Hill, first team All Big Ten, maybe.
Yes.
Maybe. I don't know yet because let's see. Will Johnson is first team All Big Ten because he's the best cornerback in college football. I don't care what anybody says. And then didn't Ohio State return that Denzel Burke guy?
Yeah, and he's
cornerback. Good. So that's two. I mean, do you get
maybe
three?
Second team.
Maybe second team. I mean, I love Tommy Hill, but he's no Will Johnson. But I think that Will Johnson personally. And you can say it's because of Michigan or whatever, but I think he's the best cornerback in this class. Like, I think if he was in this draft class, he would be the number one cornerback taken. I mean, there's nobody else in college football that you're like, hey, go cover Marvin Harrison Jr. one-on-one, no safety help. And he did it 2 years in a row.
He did. And, he's such a that type of lockdown corner where he takes away the one side of the field and automatically, if you're the quarterback, makes kind of narrows the field and narrows your options, so to speak. And anytime you can get a corner like that, you're extremely lucky as a program.
But I do love Tommy Hill, and I think he's going to be in the conversation because, yeah, man, he made some plays on the ball. And when you get those numbers, but they probably are like 3 or 4 cornerbacks that are selected because really 2 is not enough with how much those guys play. So, yeah, he definitely will be in the mix, if not first team, I think second team. And I mean, Pro Football Focus had him as one of the highest rated. Not to give them too much credit because I think some of their stuff is kind of stupid. But
yeah, I agree. I think they're better at seeing like the extremes and the lows versus actual concise grades.
Yeah, I just think that's because some of the stuff that they're saying just doesn't jive with what you're seeing. But that is what it is. But Tommy Hill is awesome, and who else I think is going to be Malcolm Hartzog. Like the secondary is so loaded, man. Like Singleton's coming back. We got Buford coming back this year. Isaac Gifford, obviously. And
we have Mario coming in. So that's going to be
cool.
Mario.
All those, all the defensive backs we got, from last year, Bly Hill.
Well, I was going to say Bly Hill, yeah.
Like they're loaded back there, man. Linebacker, is freaking loaded. Bullock and Thompson and Dylan Rogers, and you've got
Defensive line, you got James Williams, Ty Robinson, Riley Van Poppel, Nash.
Nash, Lenhart, Princewell. And then you've still got MJ Sherman, Chief Borders, Jamari Butler.
I think Borders left the team,
G-
if I'm not mistaken.
oh, you're right. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Is it right? What's the Javin Wright?
Kevin Wright.
He's right there. He doesn't get talked about at linebacker, but he's in the mix there. Like, this team is just freaking loaded, man. Like, they really like it. When you have defensive line like that, like, I just think like Tony White just has to be going. Houshman in the portal. Do you mean he actually entered? No, he can't be in the portal.
I don't think he entered. Did he? I don't think so. Because
the portal's closed right now. So
no, I would have seen it if he entered anyway, because it would have been a hot topic.
Are you trying to say Houshman's coming back in the portal, Mitch? Because I don't think that's happening. I really don't think that's happening.
And I don't know if Matt Rule would want him.
Matt Rule would take him in half a heartbit. That dude's one of the best linebackers in the Big Ten. He's going to be an all Big Ten linebacker. If Matt Rule doesn't take him, then he needs brain surgery.
Brain surgery. Javin will be a black shirt. I agree. It seems like Wright's been here forever.
I mean, I haven't seen that, and I mean, unless it literally just happened, because I like literally follow Michigan pretty closely, and that would be pretty big news. Maybe he will, but it would surprise me just because he's about to be a starter there, and I think Michigan's defense is going to be a top 5 defense again, so that would surprise me, but we'll see. You never say never. He could definitely have somebody that's going to pay him $1 million to enter the transfer portal, which Michigan probably won't do because he's worth it. Like, trust me, that dude is absolutely worth it. If somebody,
that's the thing. It's no longer, hey, this guy should stay because he's a starter. It's who can get the highest bid to the player.
Yeah, because I mean, personally, like to me, I think I'm just saying, like for a guy to leave either like Nebraska or like say Michigan. Like, say like Isaac Gifford, let's just put this out as an example, had a great year last year, NFL stock moving up, but someone's like, hey, you want 750,000 to come play here. Well, maybe he does that for a year, but like, what if the new system, what if he doesn't fit in the new system? What if, you know what I mean? And then his draft stock falls. It's like your draft stock is more valuable than NIL. So, like an extra couple $100,000 like this year or next year in an NIL deal isn't going to be as worth it as like you improving your draft stock to being, so that's where I do think, and Kirby Smart mentioned this, but I do think a lot of players are getting short-sighted in that sense.
I agree with Mitch here too, because you don't want to mess up the chemistry on the defensive side of the football. And right now that unit is so good, if it isn't broken, why fix it?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. And I really don't think that Ernest would come back here anyway, but I still think, I don't know. I still think I would take him. I still think he could find a way to make it work. And,
I'm happy with what we have. I really am, but
I am, but I just think that guy, if he stays at Michigan this year, like I haven't seen a linebacker that good at Nebraska since Levante David, those first games that he had. I know he didn't play that much last year, but I really think he's going to play well this year at Michigan, and I think he's going to be a second or third round pick in the next draft.
Yeah, and I think going back to Nebraska's defense, they just have so many layers that they haven't had in years past, and so much good depth. Not just depth to say that there is depth, but actual solid players that you can plug in and feel confident about, and allow your starters to get a rest. And we're finally at that point where we can kind of mix and match. We even did it some last season, but now I think we're at a point where we can really kind of Tony White has a lot of tools in his toolbox that he can use and play with now.
Yeah, he's got a ton on the defensive end. I mean, like I've said a bunch. I'm really excited for like Caleb Benning, Donovan Jones, and then there's guys like Ethan Nation, DeAndre Barnes, like these guys that came in last year. Bryce Turner, Jeremiah Charles Howard. Those guys are freakishly good athletes, man. And you can teach somebody who's like like Bryce Turner, 6 foot, 170 pounds, runs what you can teach that guy to cover a little bit. Like, you're going to have something there. So, there's a lot of good guys. I mean, Chief Borders is still on the roster. Maybe they just haven't updated that. But
I'm excited for like Vincent Shavers and those guys coming in too, because I think Shavers can play everywhere. I mean, Willis McGahee, Vincent Shavers. You look at you mentioned Bly Hill. We mentioned Bly Hill earlier. Like even the guys coming in, I think I could see a spot where they could really make an impact on the team, and they're not just names to add names for the sake of it. They can actually be good impact players.
Yeah, I agree with you because the thing about it is like, it's going to be so fun if Dylan Raiola, and not this year, but like the next year, if they can keep Tony White. But like when you have a quarterback that can put pressure on an opposing team, and give you the lead, I mean, then you can just, because it's so much different playing not only with the lead, but then when you get like a 10 to 14 point lead, then you can really just come after them because they're gonna be throwing the football a little bit more. So yeah, I am excited. I do think he'll blitz more, but also in the same sense, like, do you need to? I don't know that they need to, because with Ty, Nash, Princewell, Leonard, Van Poppel, James Williams, like if you can get home with that 4-man rush and then just like run a bunch of exotic coverages on the back end and just confuse the crap out of these college quarterbacks, I think that's the way to go. But I do think he's going to blitz plenty though too, which is also good, because when you run the blitz schemes well, like Nebraska did last year, they did confuse the hell of a lot of these quarterbacks, and it's not that hard to do, really, if you know what you're doing.
No, and
Kai Wallen too. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, Kai Wallen's definitely. I remember last year's spring game, he showed a lot of promise, and I think taking more risks on the defensive side of the football is something that we're going to see, and I think also when you have an offense that can put together long extended drives and gives and give your unit a rest, that helps too. And it's going to be interesting to see what kind of schemes White can draw up, and if he's able to kind of really, I won't say coach to his strengths because he did that last season, but see his creative side a little bit more, if you will.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to watch this team. I do have to head out of here in about a minute or so, you guys. So if you got any other last questions, throw them in the chat. It's been really fun talking to you guys again. If you haven't, hit the subscribe button. If you haven't subscribed to us yet, please do that so you don't miss any of our chats or our podcast, which we usually have Monday and Wednesdays. We kind of change it up once football season starts. We'll probably mix it up a little bit, but that's what we're doing right now. So we definitely appreciate all your support, and just you guys make it fun to come on here and chat. So thanks for that. Let's see. Is there a metric in your head that you like to see the offense meet this year to take any worries you might have about the OC, like 25 points per game, 375 yards?
My 25 points per game, probably, because yards weren't the problem last year. It was executing in the red zone.
The only metric I care about, Mitch, the only one is turnovers. I just want to see them turn the ball over way less. And I would say, if we could have the total number of turnovers this season be under 12 or in 12 to 15, I think one turnover per game is realistic.
That'd be huge.
I think if they do that, they're going to win 8 or 9 games this year. And that's just because the talent. I mean, if they would have done that last year, they would have won it. They probably would have won the Big Ten West, frankly. I don't think that's that bold of a statement. So the schedule is tougher this year, but if they can just cut out those mistakes with the talent that they have, I think the offensive line is better than people realize. If they just don't kill themselves with the quality of defense that we're going to have, I think we're going to win a lot of games, because I think most weeks, almost every game on our schedule, if we hit 20 points, we're going to win.
The first 6 games in particular, I'm looking at as a really good chance to make some inroads. And
I mean, you look at maybe like the Colorado game, we're probably going to have to score more than 20 points because it's going to be tough to hold them to 20, And then I'd probably say the same about Ohio State. Is that who I'm even blanking on the schedule.
No, we have. Let's see. Hold on. Let me look real quick because I know you have to go, but I'm going to look real quick at the schedule. Hold on.
I don't know why I can't remember the schedule because we talk about it all the time.
Because it's 7 a.m. your time and you're sleepy.
It's like I miss the days when you knew when every team.
Colorado, Northern Iowa, Illinois, Purdue, and Rutgers.
And then
there's a legitimate chance to go 6-0, honestly, in the first 6 games. And then we don't play Ohio State until October 26th.
So, but looking at all these games, like looking at every team we play next year, maybe, if we don't shoot ourselves in the foot and give them a bunch of turnovers, I would say Colorado could probably score 20 on us. Ohio State, maybe UCLA,
No,
USC,
USC, Ohio State.
and that's it. Iowa or Wisconsin shouldn't be able to.
But Tyler Van Dyke, I'd say maybe.
Oh yeah, I forgot they got Van Dyke. Okay, so I'll switch UCLA and Wisconsin. So I'll say Wisconsin, USC, Ohio State, Colorado. So maybe 4 teams that I think could score 20 points against us. So, I mean, if we just take care of the football, don't shoot ourselves in the foot, and then maybe Dylan Raiola, like wins Big Ten Freshman of the Year. And if that happens, then we're probably in the college football playoff. To be honest with you, because my thing is our defense is so good. I think it's going to be so good. Like if Dylan Raiola plays. If he comes out and throws like 20, 25 touchdowns and is that type of, is that type of playmaker right away. I'm not saying he will be, but if he is, this team's going to the playoff, 12-team playoff. We're going.
Yeah, and we'll finally be. Well, I thought we were going to the playoffs when Casey Thompson threw the touchdown to Isaiah Garcia Castaneda against Nebraska. So there you go.
Which he's still on the team too, Castaneda.
I know. It seems like a lot of these guys, and I get the COVID year, but it seems like a lot of these guys have been on the team for quite a while.
They have been, but yeah, it is the COVID year. Mitch, my prediction is Carter Nelson leads the tight ends in receptions in the last 6 games. Hold me to it. Don't forget. Yeah, I can buy that prediction. I do think Thomas Fidone is going to have more for the entire season, but yeah, Carter,
Fidone and Nelson is going to be a deadly combo.
I'm very excited. I'm like a kid in a candy store when I think about Carter Nelson, and just when I watch his highlights, I think about all the things he can do. It just brings a smile to my face. So, at any rate, guys, we better wrap it up there, or I'll be talking for another hour about Carter Nelson's potential as a Nebraska Cornhusker. So, thanks again for joining us, you guys. Hopefully we get it done today, this afternoon. Check out Husker Big Red. We'll have a lot of content in these next few days. And thanks again for this chat. And as always, go Big Red.
Go Big Red.